Good afternoon, Crafterliticans, or good evening, or good morning, or whatever time you're watching, and wherever you are appreciated. Thank you for being here. Um, Today is more of a mental health thing. So I want to talk about doubling down because we see examples of it everywhere, and we've all done it. No matter whether it's a minor argument or a huge big deal, we've all done it, right? Um, and we're seeing it an awful lot in public, in the media, from politicians or celebrities or whatever. And we see it every day. It's all day, every day. And it's become normal. So why do we double down? Why isn't it easier, or why isn't it easy to admit when we're at fault or that we've been duped? Because that's all part of it. And how can we deal with this for ourselves and from other people? All of this has been going around in my head for a while now. And if I'm thinking about it, then I'm sure other people are too. First, let's work out what doubling down really is. We see it a lot from politicians. There was a sketch show here in the UK literally decades ago now, where you'd have some actor dressed as a politician outside of what's meant to be their house, hounded by press, reading a statement that is, I've done nothing wrong and I refuse to resign. And, it's a scam and the truth will come out. And it would go on for ages, just citing these statements. I will not resign. I will not resign. In conclusion, I resign. And then he'd turn around and walk back into the house with his family, with no other explanation, no apology, no taking accountability. And we used to think of that as satire and comedy, and that's exactly what we're seeing. And it isn't just politicians, and it isn't based on right or left or anything else like that. We see this from public figures, and I think we do it in our own lives, just not to that heightened extent, right? Um, that sketch show, I'm sure, was on in the early 90s. So showing my age, 42. But nothing has changed. It's just more public because of social media and the immediacy, the instant ability to find this news. It's everywhere. So yeah, that always runs through my mind whenever I see some kind of scandal come out in the newspapers or online or wherever else. It's not new. Um, and we've seen it a lot this year. Maybe I'm more aware of it this year than I have been in other years, but we've seen it, just this very public evidence of wrongdoing or scandal, or court cases where it's been proven by a court and accepted by a jury that someone is liable, someone is wrong, and yet they still double down. um this year, not even this year, for the last 3 years, we have had government U-turn after government U-turn here in the UK. They'll come out with some policy the public don't like, they'll double down, they'll triple down, and then suddenly, no, they're not doing that anymore. Boris Johnson has gone through it. We're now going through it with Liz Truss. This is just, none of it is new. And it's not one political figure, it is not one individual person. This week, Alex Jones live streamed while his verdict was being read out, while the amounts of money were being discussed. And he live streamed it, reacting to it and doubling down, mentioning in that doubling down the Parkland shooting and Uvalde, sorry. And the fact that he wants to, he's still going to ask questions, and everything else. And I think we all have questions about what went wrong at Uvalde. We don't have questions about it being a false flag, given the footage and the evidence and everything else that has come out. So, and that's a really good example of doubling down and hiding behind free speech and, you know, commentary is the fact that, yeah, you are free to say whatever you want. I could step out of my car right now, stand in the middle of the street in front of a school and scream at the top of my lungs any swear words I want. That doesn't mean I am free from consequences of that, from the school, from the people who live here, from the police. And there is no point in me standing there and going, oh, I'm allowed to say what I want. Yeah, you can double down, but you still shouldn't do this kind of thing. If nothing else, it is a breach of the peace, which is against the law. So, it's this idea that we can get away with it if we double down, if we yell it loud enough. And we saw that with, just this year alone, or just the last few months, Amber Heard, Kanye West, Herschel Walker, and his scandals. We've seen it, as I've said, from the British government. It isn't culture-based, and it isn't individualized. It's not one society. It's not one political party or affiliation. It's not one type of fandom against others. Those are just the ones I could think of while I was making notes. I'm sure if I sat down and thought about it a little bit longer, I could come up with dozens of examples of people doubling down despite the evidence. It's reiterating your point over and over and over again, and not accepting another view, and not accepting evidence or truth or anything that could change your narrative, right? That's what doubling down is. Why double down? Why do it? Even in the face of overwhelming evidence, why do we do it? And we all do it. This isn't me attacking one person or anything else like that. This is about human nature. This is about how our brains work. So regardless of politics and, who you're fans of or anything else like that, why do we find it so hard to admit our own faults or the faults in others? Why do we find it so hard to believe that we've been swept up in the hype and we've been duped, right? Because that's when someone else is doubling down and we're believing them, we're being duped, we're being lied to, and we're swallowing it and asking for more. So why? What is it that causes us to do that? I think it comes down to vulnerability. None of us like to think of ourselves as weak or vulnerable or, wrong. No one likes to be wrong. And if we admit that we're wrong in some way, we've convinced ourselves that makes us weak. We lose the higher ground. We lose the upper hand. We're less than if we admit that we're wrong. We'll lose respect. It feels like it's going to damage us in some way. It can also mean a loss of power. For celebrities and famous people, a loss of followers, a loss of money, if we change our views. We'll lose face. When you're famous, the devoted fans and subscribers or whoever it is hang on every word and will promote you. They'll donate to your cause. And again, we've seen this When you think about the court cases, again, this isn't me attacking anyone. It's about kind of publicized events. You look at Steve Bannon, who has been found guilty of grifting, of conning people out of money. His followers, the people that really believe, don't believe that they've been taken for a ride. They don't believe that he's stolen their money and used it for something that they weren't aware of. People who do come to that conclusion realize that they are vulnerable. They've been stolen from. They've been sold white salmon guaranteed not to go pink in the can, if you understand the P.T. Barnum reference, right? So, you know, it's difficult to confront that. It really is. Doubling down is easier. You look at the recent LawTube stuff. I don't know how many of you actually follow your LawTube. There's some kind of drama. I don't know. I know who it involves directly. I know nothing about it. I've stayed out of it because I don't care. I want LawTube comments. I want the legal analysis. I'm not that invested. I said to someone earlier, I don't like soap operas, and this has turned into a soap opera. Both sides, regardless of how it started, whether it was actually a slight, if someone actually was unpleasant or caused damage in some way, both sides of this are enjoying a boost in income, not only from their loyal viewers, but from the other side's loyal viewers. People are watching the streams to be able to shit talk in the posts. So either way, you're giving them views, which gives them money. These are monetized channels. And the loyal followers are upping the super chats and the donations and, you know, however else they're set up, because they want to support their favorite or the side that they've picked. Regardless of who's right or wrong, they are both raking in cash. And that is an incentive to those people to double down, to keep this drama going, whether it started legitimately or not. And some of the YouTube and other dramas that happen are orchestrated behind the scenes. If you and I have a beef, we're going to get people involved. We're going to get more money. We're going to get more followers. And that's actually happened in kind of the literary world. Writers have organised a falling out just before books are launched to up sales. It's not new, and it is not unique to social media. It's just, I think, under a microscope, and it's hyper focused when it's on Twitter or wherever. So these loyal followers are, whether or not this is genuine, being conned. Now, I mean, don't get me wrong, I don't think conned is the right word, because, you know, I saw one title of one video which was Drama Griftathon. That is openly saying, I'm going to discuss this drama, I'm going to respond to it, and I want your money to do so. It is easier to double down than it is to kind of step back and look at this and go, I'm being used. Just a thought. So none of us want to think that we've been scammed, that we've been used, that we're being drawn into something that is possibly not great for us. And waking up to that is hard. It's hard. Our brains protect ourselves from that because it's hurtful, it's harmful. And it also means looking at ourselves and kind of going, How was I conned? How was I brought into this? How did I believe this person? Or how did I get to a point where I didn't want to say I was wrong in this argument? It's much easier to blame someone else and double down than it is to look at ourselves. So, and that's something we need to do. I think all of us need to do that. Self-reflection is powerful. Self-reflection is learning. It's growing. It's evolving. And I think, I would like to see us really work on admitting when we're wrong, listening to the other side, taking a moment to step back and go, okay, what led me to believe what I believe? What led me to a point where I needed to double down? What made me so defensive I needed to double down? Is it really that I believe what I'm saying or believe what I'm hearing or whatever? Or is it that I don't want to face what led me there? It's a lot harder to look inwards. It's a lot harder to analyze ourselves in that way. And I think that's why people don't want to do it. If we're honest, that's a scary prospect, looking inside and working out what led us to that point. Because that point is a biased point. When we double down, we're saying our view is completely right, 100%, no matter what the subject, and that there is no room for outside of that. There is no room for someone else's viewpoint. What led me to be that biased to my view? What led me to be so biased to believe is a lot harder. And there's a lot more to it. It goes way back. It goes all the way back to what our family said, what our peer group said, the area that we lived in, what jobs we've held, what experience we've had, the interaction we've had, the friend groups we've made, even into adulthood, our relationships, all of those feed into our bias of why we've got that view. It also, if we do that, if we're able to take a step back and say, okay, why am I here? What have I done to be here? That gives us this amazing amount of power and strength. It takes a strong person to say, I was wrong, please teach me. It takes a strong person to know they don't know everything. It takes a strong person to know that they don't know everything about you. And the power is knowing that and asking questions and learning. That gives us so much more power. It also means we are less likely to fall victim to scam artists, con men, people who are grifting or doubling down for the wrong reasons. Doubling down to save their hide and not because they believe in the same cause as you do. So I think there are very few things that are more powerful than being able to say I was wrong, or to calm down enough to just listen to someone else and their view. It's just a thought. Let me know what you think in the comments. Do you double down? Have you done that before? What's made you stop? Or is it something that you stick with? I know a few people that no matter how wrong they know they are deep down inside, will not back down. Will not back down. I also know people who back down too easily. So it goes both ways. tell me your experiences of doubling down or admitting you're wrong in the comments. Get involved, subscribe, like this video. If you're watching on Rumble, give it a rant. Add your rant, tell me what you think, and give it a rumble. Get me up those algorithms. And hopefully I will speak to you soon when I next talk about empathy. What is true empathy? And is it possible? I'll speak to you soon.